I saw this LinkedIn post, ScoopWhoop has been acquired by WLDD.
One of the only instances that, as far as I know, where a content company has acquired another content company.
Memes are arguably one of the most engaging ways of communication. WLDD has 3 co-founders, if I'm not wrong, one of which is Arihant. His story is super interesting. Like, I love this guy. He had, very interestingly, a maida business, and he was providing to companies like Nestle. He borrowed, I think, 10 lakhs from his mom. Dude, in a year he converted that to his first crore. Prateek had always been into like education, financial education. He left school after 9th.
Wait, what?
Prateek has not finished school. He has not done college. Everyone we have talked about in this episode has worked in call centers at some point. And dude, LearnApp makes like money. Dude, in 21 they were doing close to $2 to $3 million a year. He talked about how LearnApp is not content, it's like content plus action. And it's very clear that he's literally applied all of these principles back into Zero1.
It has been established the creator will be the bottleneck, because no matter what you do, content is all about taste. And taste only comes from one person.
Correct.
When it comes to content. Correct. And that person is making the content. I think the next wave is going to be bigger content houses getting on more.
You know what it sounds like?
On board.
This sounds like the business model that's there in music. So you might have content labels.
Yeah.
So Zero1 by Zerodha is a content label.
Content label now.
Right?
It's a network.
Yes.
More or less.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Content Playbook. I know it's been a while since we uploaded the last episode, but we have some really exciting things this episode. We talk about WLDD acquiring ScoopWhoop, and we've been part of YouTube and watching YouTube since the OG days of ScoopWhoop, so this was a big deal for us. And we also do a deep dive on the founders, super interesting story. We talk about Zero1 by Zerodha and this concept of content labels for creators, very similar to how music labels operate for musicians, and you know the impact of that side of the business and the creator economy that not a lot of people are talking about. Prateek from LearnApp is in today's episode. I mean, not physically, but like in our minds. Because,
in essence, he's
in essence, yes, in spirit. Because he has done some really cool stuff with LearnApp and Zero1.
Yeah.
And finally, we talk about creator economy jobs, right? And
how they are increasing.
How they're increasing and what the trend is. And on the business side of things, what we see as business owners in the creator economy and also creators. So it's a jam-packed episode. We feel really excited about this one. So,
and also we talk about how content is like music labels. Content is moving towards content labels, which is also very interesting.
Right.
Stay tuned.
Yes. So let's jump right in and we'll see you on the other side. Cool guys, welcome back to another episode of the Content Playbook, and today we have like a bunch of different things that we want to talk about. The first of which is this news that we were talking a couple of days ago. We got to know that I saw this LinkedIn post by this guy called Arihant that ScoopWhoop has been acquired by WLDD, right? And WLDD is essentially this meme marketing company called WLDD. It's named after like the phrase by I think Rick from Rick and Morty, right? And that got us into this rabbit hole of like the whole acquisition and what do they do and all of this. So I think both of us kind of did our independent research. Right. So why don't you tell me what you figured out, and then like I did some deep research into Arihant.
Okay.
But,
so why I think it's very important that this happened is because I don't see a lot of content companies acquire another content company, right? It's always very big conglomerates acquiring like content companies because they want it for something. I think this is one of the only instances that, as far as I know, where a content company has acquired another content company. Also a company which is only 3 years old that has done an acquisition of ScoopWhoop, which has been here for
WLDD is old, man. He started it
3 years old, bro. You can check. You can
Dude,
check.
He started in 2018.
But the company, from the time the company has started, I think it's only 3 years old.
No, it started in 2018.
Oh, achha.
It's 7 years
cool.
old.
My bad. 7 years old.
Yeah, so it's pretty old.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right in saying ki
it's a younger company compared to ScoopWhoop,
yes,
right?
It's not an MNC or it's not, and ScoopWhoop is like at least back in the day, it was like a giant, right?
I mean,
so
they got acquired by
I think multiple
Good
times.
Glam Group.
Correct.
Multiple times, yes. Before Good Glam Group, was there anybody?
I'm not sure, but at least like this is like twice at least, right?
Because as far as I remember, or at least as far as my research goes, Good Glam Group acquired the company 2021 at 100 CR. I think that was at the peak of what ScoopWhoop could have been.
Right.
and they recently sold it for 20 CR, which is like 5x lower.
Right.
I mean, this is the estimated number out there. I don't think there is a official release of what is the actual price that they got bought up. But yeah, still it feels like a stress sale. That's on the money front, I would say. That was one of the bigger reasons why I thought, you know what, this is big. What did you figure out?
Okay, so I found a bunch of things. I think it would be worth to talk about that part also, what you just said. We were discussing this on a call, I think, yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So Good Glam Group is, I don't know what products they sell, but I know they're in the cosmetic industry.
Yeah,
like
beauty cosmetic space, yes.
Right? So I think their idea is that they do, at least on Perplexity, like content to commerce.
Right.
So they have like a lot of top of the funnel marketing, and then at the back end they sell these products. I think we were discussing that because a large part of their audience is female,
Yeah.
and none of the ScoopWhoop content or IPs, whatever, were really speaking to that segment.
Yeah.
It wasn't making sense for them, which is why they kind of offloaded it to.
Yeah, and I also feel, I think the acquisition strategy for ScoopWhoop was it predominantly had like a male audience. I think they would have realized.
Correct.
And my guess is they did try a couple of times to move into a male audience.
Female audience.
No, I think
ScoopWhoop tried moving into female audience.
Female audience, and I don't think that really worked for them as such. And,
dude, in the OG ScoopWhoop is one I remember, Baked. Like that was the first series. Did you watch Baked? So Baked was like this beautiful series on YouTube back in the day when like YouTube had these actual TV shows, right? Which is what made it so special. Like you could just for free watch this content that like it felt like you should be paying for, but you don't have to, right? And the irony is that they ended up putting it behind a paywall later, I think on like Voot or something. But Baked was this beautiful series about like this guy from like UP who goes to Delhi, and you know he sees this world for the first time, and like these three friends, and they're like discovering all of different aspects of college life for the first time, right? And he starts like this bakery business from college, right? And the idea is that they're delivering to other college students at night. You know, when like they're baked.
I thought the wrong side of baked, bro.
So that part is also there.
Oh, interesting.
The wake and bake part, but like it kind of discovers then there's like a love story angle, and you know there are other like family issue angles and all that. It was like a beautiful story, very wholesome. So that was my first kind of exposure to ScoopWhoop, and I think later on they did. Samdeesh was part of ScoopWhoop, right? If people remember, he used to do a lot of like really different reporting, right? I don't know what the genre name is, but he used to do like the same stories he does now on his Unfiltered channel. He used to do with ScoopWhoop.
Yeah.
And they had like a bunch of other IPs also.
I did not know Samdeesh was a part
of ScoopWhoop. Samdeesh was part of ScoopWhoop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was, I think, 2-3 years ago, because I remember he had like a falling out with the founder, if I'm not wrong, and I actually saw him start his channel. Like I've seen the first video that he put out, and you know the whole controversy went down, and he started his Unfiltered, and you know he went from there. So I remember all of that happening. But yes, he was part of ScoopWhoop.
Interesting.
And he was one of the, and then ScoopWhoop used to have this town hall, right? I remember they had this one episode with Jimmy Shergill that did really well, where basically like the entire office would stand, and then the founder would sit with the guest in the center, and then they would just like ask questions. And it was like a great format. So ScoopWhoop has, it's come a long way, right? But back to what we were talking about, like the sale and everything, right?
Yeah.
Did you look into Wobble Up Dub Dub? Like, do you know what they do?
Yeah, and I find it very interesting. They do meme campaigns. I should say I don't understand the full picture or the full intensity of how the things are going, but I do understand that, okay, a company or like a series or something is coming to them, you know, for marketing, and they are providing the solution in the format of memes. So basically, my guess is they are doing like a bunch of memes across like various channels. So
it's basically a meme marketing company, right? And if you think about memes as like as marketing, right? It's very weird to think about. Like that's not the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of marketing, right?
Yeah.
But memes are arguably one of the most engaging ways of communication. I think Wobble Up Dub Dub has 3 co-founders, if I'm not wrong. One of which is Arihant. And dude, his story is super interesting. Like I love this guy. He is like an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. Okay. So this dude is from Belgaum. You know where Belgaum is, right?
Yes.
So for people who don't know, Belgaum is like this North Karnataka town, right? He basically started off as he was doing like some his PUC there.
Okay.
And he joined some college, and it wasn't working out for him, right? Because like he wasn't really liking it, and he had, very interestingly, a meda business while he was in his POC. Okay, so he was he had like a mill or jo bhi hai, and he was providing to companies like Nestle that make Maggie.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Very interesting. And he did like a bunch of very like different jobs. So he was working in like AI for a bit, and promotions and marketing, and I think he worked in like a call center for a while. He worked with Rahul Gandhi and the Indian National Congress for a brief period. And eventually in 2018 he started Wobble Up Dub Dub. I think before that he was working in some company where he got introduced to this idea of memes and social media and all of this.
Right.
And then he started Wobble Up Dub Dub. He borrowed, I think, 10 lakhs from his mom. Dude, in a year he converted that to his first crore in revenue. Madness. Like madness. Like this guy is clearly a shark. I fucking love him. Someone with that background has now created a company that in 7-8 years has bought out like an OG content house, right?
Yeah.
And the deal is worth like 20 crores.
Yeah.
Super inspiring, huge respect, hats off. But then I also found this one interview where he's basically talking about meme marketing.
Right.
So he's kind of explaining it to these kids of like what meme marketing is and how do you earn money off of it, which was super interesting.
Right. I think this video was put out by Let's School.
No,
I'm not wrong.
No.
Oh, no.
This is like I found like these very low key videos with like a couple thousand views.
Okay.
And this is like some Zoom video and like some I think agency or some organization had asked him to come and be like, okay, can you just tell us how you're doing? He talks about like a bunch of different things. Right? For example, he says if you have a page with like 10 to 50,000 followers, if you have a meme page, you can make anywhere between 50,000 to 3 lakhs a month.
Wow.
Right? Just through doing like these brand deals. And he said that they own around 15 to 20 such pages. And this interview or this masterclass was from 2020. And at that point, he's like, all these pages that we own, either partially or fully or whatever, they earn anywhere between 50 to 20 lakhs a month. 15 to 20 lakhs a month.
Interesting.
Right?
And they own these pages?
So some pages he said they outright own. I think there's this page called ad copy or something like that.
Okay.
So a couple of these pages they just fully own. And I think a lot of these other pages they partially own. So I think how it works, because I talked to someone who worked at Wobble Up Dub Dub, and he was like this video editor, and he talked about these memes and these campaigns and things like that, right?
Right.
And actually, if you think about it, like purely from a business standpoint, these things are super effective. Like he was talking about working with like this protein bar company, and they like doubled their sales when compared to like a normal post versus a meme post. Right?
Interesting.
Then he was talking about how like your meme page needs to be a brand, which makes so much sense, right? That like you need high recall and you want people to come back to you over and over again. For example, back in the day when I was in like 8th or 9th, this is like 2008, 2009, there was this Facebook group called Thermodynamic Memes for Adiabatic Teens. Okay, and there were a series of these pages with like these rhyming schemes, right?
Okay.
And they would just be like memes around school. And on Facebook, they used to go mega viral.
I think we have, like growing up, there would have been that one meme page or like that one page we would have always gone to as, like,
a ton of these meme pages. Like, and it's very like community specific, right? Like high relatability for like a certain group of people. You probably had like a meme page for your school, for your college. For us, going to tuition was a big deal. So I know there was this tuition called Base that had its own meme page, and then Akash, I was in Akash, so that has its meme page. And Baiju's Alan had, other local things have, right? So the point there is not to like go viral, because you can't. Relatability is
Narayana Chaitanya.
Relatability is like really high, but like with a few set of people, right? So I think that was a precursor to like the dank memes that we have now. And another interesting thing about Arihant that I noticed is that he's not just a marketing person, he truly understands memes at like a fundamental level, right? One of the reasons when like I'm able to identify this is that when people start referring to like the inherent cause of why something works versus like it just works, right? So he keeps going back to this book by Richard Dawkins. I'm forgetting the name. We'll put it on the screen. And there's this concept called mimetics. So you have genetics, same thing as mimetics, right?
Interesting.
So you know how some things are communicated digitally or even like verbally for that matter,
right?
But like it's not it's not explicitly said. Have you seen the boyfriend with the two girls memes?
Yes,
right? Where like the girlfriend is looking annoyed and then he's looking at someone else, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That meme, when I show it to you with like
Yeah.
some basic text, I don't have
Yeah.
to explain what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll just get it.
I know.
So that's the concept called memetics.
Right.
So like you just understand things inherently, and
Right.
that's how virality happens, right?
Yeah.
Like multiple times he has referred to this concept, and it's very clear is that he truly understands what he's trying to do. So even he was talking about his process, right? So like they sit together as a team and they try to understand why certain things are working, what's the new trend that's coming, or what's the new website. He at one point he talks about ShareChat, and he says ki like everyone is talking about these mainstream social media platforms, so like ShareChat has like 650 million people. That's like half of India. Right at that point, close to half of India,
Right.
and he was like, "There's no English. There's only regional languages, right? So if someone wants to go regional, then you should go on ShareChat because that's where most of the people are."
Yeah.
So it was very clear that he's like a high agency, deep thinker about what he's doing, right? Which I found very, very fascinating. And yeah, dude, like some like fun tidbits. The company name started off as Fast Marketing, where marketing had no vowels. So it was like MRKTNG. And the idea was, we're so fast we forgot to put vowels, right? Eventually it ended up being bubble because like they just thought you were talking about memes, so this thing Rick and Morty very famous, let's connect the two, and then it became like a really great conversation starter. Yeah. But it's crazy, man. Like what he's able to do. And surprisingly, he also talked about that he has some sort of a partnership, at least as of that video, which was in 2020. He had some sort of a partnership with this app called Meme Chat. Now, if you look into Meme Chat, it's a huge app. It has like some 8-figure users, which is like tens of millions.
Acquired also.
Yeah, could be. It's massive, and it's almost like a social media for chats, for memes.
Yes.
Right, social media for memes, and he talked about he had some sort of a partnership with them, and it had a feature where like they needed certain. It was like a job board, or almost like a meme board, right? Where like you need certain meme, and then you make it, and then if it gets approved, you get paid for it.
Correct.
Right? So it was very clear that he's able to tap into others, like everything around, like the economy around memes, right? And not just okay, I'll make memes, but he's like, okay, dude, like this app is there, it's really cool, let me make a partnership.
This is an Android thing. I mean, I don't know if you have it on iOS, but why I know Meme Chat is also because they got integrated into the keyboard app. So our keyboards right now have like if you enable it, if you download and enable, you'll get it on your
correct.
On your
so
keypad.
We don't. I mean, iOS doesn't have that, but I think you can download the app. You can download the app. But super interesting, man. And what I personally, from like the business nerd in me, what I really found fascinating is that one, he's able to like clearly execute fast. That's one. And second is he's been doing it for a very long time.
True.
Right. So he's doing it for like almost 8 years now.
And considering the companies that they worked with, like their client list, and you see it's from Disney,
like heavy hitters, all like heavy hitters.
Everybody they have covered.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of the business is that memes are something that are very not even seasonal. Like it just like something goes viral and then it just dies.
Like meme is a culture. It's no longer like.
It's not static. It's very fluid. Right. So you need to be really good at making memes and understanding like the pulse of the culture. Right.
100%.
So that's a good and that's a double-edged sword because one, you will always have business, but the stickiness of that business is less because if you're not good, then like they'll just fall off and go somewhere else.
And the business is novelty.
Yes.
Like
exactly.
Business is like what is happening right now.
Exactly.
And how do you stay on top of it?
Correct. So he talks about how like when they're in office, like 3-4 hours a day, all they're doing is just like, checking what's happening, or, if there's a cricket match and they're watching the match to like see some popular moments for which they can make memes.
Correct.
So it seems like a really fun job, right? I'm sure it's a lot of work.
It's a very
I feel like
way,
at some level, I think I really relate with him because that's a lot of what we do and what I do with YouTube, right? Like I'm on YouTube all the time, and we're talking trends, and I'm talking to the team about like this is happening, that's happening. Did you see this video? Like today, I texted someone saying, "Dude, I found this video about like YouTube titles," and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, dude, it's open on the other tab," and I was like, "Great, you should go watch it." But it's clear that he's really good at what he does, right? And I think
see, one question I've always had, okay, these guys are a meme company. How does acquiring ScoopWhoop help? Like what's the angle there? Because see, my theory is they are acquiring this to get into more mainstream sources of content. That's my angle. I think they want to get into a bigger mainstream angle, and they want to be able to make mainstream marketing, if I have to put it in a better way. And hence, like ScoopWhoop adding into their roster makes like clear sense of them being able to crack YouTube as a bigger thing, or probably increasing the kind of marketing outputs that they can give to companies.
Right.
I think that is something that they are thinking.
Yeah, could be. I feel like if you're like a content first company, right, having like a larger digital footprint never hurts. In 2020, he had like whatever 15, 20 meme pages. I'm sure by now it's like more than 50.
500 plus.
Meme pages?
Yes, I think it's on their website right now.
Okay, damn, I did not know that. But that's insane,
I think,
man.
Yeah, it's
like they're managing
they closely
500 plus.
work with at least 500 plus.
That's
and like
crazy, dude.
In their overall thing, I think they have close to 10,000 artists who can make memes, if I'm not wrong.
Man, okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly, right? So they're essentially, they're like deeply rooted in the culture of India.
Absolutely.
Like, to answer your question of why they acquired ScoopWhoop, I'm guessing to further that mission. Honestly, with the amount of money that he seems to be making, it could also be just like a fun thing, kiddo. Fuck it, man. Like, I just spent some money and I bought like this cool asset. Coming to what you said about, like they're making memes and all of these things. So I have been closely following this kind of idea. Even yesterday, I was listening to another podcast, like My First Million. It's one of my favorite pods. And there, one of the guests was talking about that, hey, how he has started this new kind of fellowship for kids, like literally people who are in high school.
Okay.
Right? From like 8th to 12th, who are doing their own business. And they have like these very small grants of like $1,000. This is in the US of $1,000, and then they just like find these young entrepreneurs and they they're incentivizing them, encouraging them to do more, right? And the idea is that, hey, like in this new age world, you need more than just traditional schooling to do well, right? And that concept, I feel, just in the past week, I have seen multiple such like data points, and to me now I'm like, dude, there is something happening that like not enough people are noticing. So I'll give you what. So we talked about WLDD, right? They also own Lit School.
Correct.
Lit School is this like
and
creator.
They also own Solo Creators. It's an app where creators can be onboarded, and they'll put out assignments. You complete the assignment. If your assignment gets accepted, you get paid.
So they own Lit School, they own Solo Creators, right? And Lit School is like this creator first thing that they help make creators and train creators. We have Masters Union, which is like this new age sort of education, heavily focused on like skills that are working in today's day and age.
There you end up more than like where you're studying.
Then also we have 01 by Zerodha. What 01? We'll talk about that more, what this thing is doing, what they are doing. Interestingly, Ankur Warikoo has been doing this thing called Web Veda, where he has a bunch of these like very cheap courses for students around this idea of, hey, like you need more than just school to like really be successful in today's day and age.
Interesting.
So it could be like time management, it could be like how to manage stress, or how to do your first business, or all of these like
soft skill type
things, right? Which it's not just like a math formula, it's more of like a skill that you need in day-to-day life. Why I bring this up is that I see this trend of this new age education, right? Which is closer to value creation than before. So what I mean by that is education so far has been about, hey, we are teaching you things without any concrete guarantee of the result, right?
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's not clear where you will use it, but this can help.
Of course, they market that, hey, like so many, AIR 1s, 2s and whatever, single digit, double digits are coming out of our institution. But that's clearly more for marketing than for actual results, right? Out of the hundreds of thousands of people that go into any sort of education system, there are very few that come out with like the actual skills to survive and thrive.
Correct.
Right? So there's this new kind of trend, which is very, very early adopters now, where they are doing this, right? You see a lot of people just talking about content. Everyone has this one new content.
Correct.
AV has this thing. They were early adopters on this. But like now every other page that comes on my feed is something they have this one course. Tarun Speaks has a course.
Correct.
Brightso is there from...
any creator who is successful has a course.
Correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
Right now, this one, Beer Biceps had his podcasting course, and
Yeah.
like everyone who is like at a certain level, they'll try to
have a
monetize
course,
with
yeah.
a course, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is one part, but there's like the second part of it, which is not just for the money and the economic value, but also that they are trying to create this sort of new type of education. I would say GrowthX falls in that bracket. LearnApp
Correct.
falls in that bracket, right? Where
Yeah.
they're focusing more on, let's say, trying to do something different.
Correct.
Right? And I think that is super interesting because we talk about business and we talk about content, right? And I think that's the perfect marriage of both of those things because like more and more people will be making content. And the way that you teach content cannot be that, hey, like, video is this, audio is this, editing is this is like, because everything is so fluid.
Yeah.
Right? So it has to be like a very hands-on approach of you trying things, seeing what works.
Because the most important thing is understanding why things work or why things matter than like how do you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, marketing inherently is something that is so dynamic.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no one blueprint.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've learned doing research for these episodes is
Right.
everything that like there's sometimes that just breaks the laws of all content that still works and you're like, why the fuck is this working?
Yeah.
Right? So I think there needs to be like constant innovation all across the board from everyone in order to like truly get like most people to be educated like kaise banana hai content. So that was one thing that I found really interesting. But let's talk about 01, right?
Yeah.
Because I think both of us have done a bit of research into 01. So like, why don't you start? Like, what have you found out about 01?
So I'll just take a little backstory. Okay. So I think I've been following the LearnApp also for quite some time. This was at the time when I had a lot of problems with my money situation. Like, I don't know where my money is going. And LearnApp specifically because they spoke a lot about basics. How do you look at money? How do you look at debt?
Interesting.
Credit card kya hota hai?
Right.
All that, I think the first exposure also came from that. So I was like, oh, LearnApp is pretty cool. Very nice. And later I realized they have, slowly I realized that they are moving out. They are planning to do something. And slowly that stopped. I was like, what is he doing now? And then like out of nowhere, they're like, 01 by Zerodha. He'll be, I think they pitched it to Nikhil Kamat's team. And they were like, oh, this is a cool idea. They funded it also. Everything happened quick. This is around the time when even Sharan also got funded. Like there's a very close time, no? Every 1% also.
This is October 2023.
Correct.
That's when
around this time
01 started. Yeah.
Correct. October, and I think they started off right away. And I still love their content. And I think until the later end of 2024, I think closer to mid 2024 is when I started seeing 01 by Zerodha coming at that places.
Right.
Like they are popping up here on some videos. They're popping up here. I was like, how are they related? Not even closely money. And I think the bigger picture is how big they are trying to be. And I have my own theory on this, but yeah, like what did you figure out?
Right. So we'll tell people about like how big they are, right? On that point. So if you just go to their website, you can see all the IPs that they're owning essentially, right? So there's one is 01 that is led by Prateek. Then they have another show with Saiba Bali, which is like women and finance in women. They've also funded this one. They've funded Indian Silicon Valley. They've funded Shivang Joshi, his podcast, forgetting the name. And 2-3 other like big players. They have one CNBC reporter who became like really big.
I think they also have Jivraj's podcast.
Yeah, Indian Silicon
Valley. Yes. Think School also they have.
Yeah, Think School also they have. Yes. Correct.
And I think they partnered with GrowthX also.
They also GrowthX. They have Varun Maya's other channel. What's it called? Breakdown.
Correct. Breakdowns.
Breakdown that has partnered up with. So they're really big, right?
Yeah.
And I really like their mission, which is I think it's demystifying finance content or like making finance content simple for Indians, right? And they're literally like tackling it from like all angles. Yeah. Which is very commendable. Yeah. I mean, they have the money for it as well.
Correct.
But the way that they're doing it is really good. Yeah. But dude, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the app itself, right? Because they have this whole event thing that you like showed me, and then I went down. I did some research.
01 Fest.
I also want to talk about Prateek from LearnApp, right? Okay. So I think let's talk about the app first, and then I'll dive into because his backstory I really like. So have you seen the app? Like, do you know how the event works?
I know there are some challenges that keep coming up on 01 app. You complete those to get points, and you can claim those points for your fest. That's the understanding that I have.
Correct. So I downloaded the app today.
Yeah.
The way it works is it has 2 tiers. So it has 2 tiers. Okay. Correct. It has a normal tier for entry. And it has a gold tier where you get to randomly spend time with one of the panelists.
Correct.
And all of these panelists are people who are connected to Zerodha in some way. And like
Correct.
Nikhil Kamath or his podcast and all
Correct.
of that, right? So the way it works is you basically go and the first challenge that you have to enter, okay, even before this, they have an event. That's why they have the app, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And on the app, you essentially have to like go through a series of questions, which they call a challenge. It's very interesting because everything is gamified. And you can clearly see their attention to detail and the thoughtfulness in creating the questions, right? Yeah. So it's almost, so there's a character, I think his name is like Gaurav or something. And they're like, oh, this is the backstory to Gaurav. He just got a job and this is the salary breakup and this is his expenses. So like, what should he do now? Rate the priority list.
Yeah.
And in between all of these segments, there'll be clips of the 01 channel.
Yeah.
That come in like 1 minute, 2 minutes, which you have to watch. And that's part of the process, right? So like you can only go to the next step once you watch that video. So they're integrating kind of their content there and I guess repurposing it.
Yeah. And also I think it is just to elaborate on the topic, and they're trying to back data and information behind.
Yeah. So they're like a data driven.
It's like a proper education.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they want to be data driven. That's one of their missions, right?
Yeah.
And once you kind of fill in all of this information, and at the end they ask you certain subjective questions, right? And like, oh, like based on this, we'll give you passes.
Yeah.
And the idea is that whoever has finished this quote unquote challenge, the first challenge, they get free entry passes to the event.
Correct.
It has no cost.
Right.
But you have to do this.
Yeah.
Right. And once you've done this, then you get, I think, the opportunity to
apply for a
gold pass. And then that is essentially, they're trying to get network effect where they ask you to do certain things, right? Oh, like tell us why you want to do it and comment and like. So it's very clear that this is not their first foray into this sort of structure, right? Or this sort of like system. And that's when I got really curious about Prateek and like how he's able to think of these things, right? Or like where does it even come from? So the more I dug in, I found this one interview he did on Rain Matter. So for people who don't know, Rain Matter is the VC fund for Zerodha, right? Or whatever. It's like the sustainable fund by Zerodha.
Sustainable fund by Zerodha.
Yeah. Yes. So they fund like health companies and
eco-friendly startups,
agri-tech companies and eco-friendly startups and all of that. And one of the things that they funded, I haven't confirmed, but I think they also have a relationship with LearnApp at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Because this interview was as of, I think, 2021.
Prateek was on Rain Matter.
Yeah, he was on the podcast by Rain Matter, and Nitin was the host.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
And they had already known each other for a while.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you like a quick summary. Yeah. So basically, Prateek has been making videos for a long time. And this is before like I ever knew about him. Because he's more in the finance space. Yeah. But he used to be very active in like these community platforms around trading. Right? So this is like early 2010s. And trading then was like nothing. It was a very small community.
Right.
So basically, both of these people knew about each other under pseudonyms.
Oh.
So like Prateek had a different name, Nitin had a different name because like he can't be a CEO with like just running around on community platforms. Yeah. And they knew about each other, and then Nitin had tried to hire him. But he went and worked with some competitor, Prateek.
Okay.
But they knew each other, and Prateek had always been into like education, financial education. Right? So his background is super interesting. He actually was born in Abu Dhabi. And he has lived all over the world. Like he lived in like Malaysia and Africa and all these other places. And I think mid 2000s, he came back to India when I think he was in like high school, middle school, high schoolish. He like I find this like unbelievable. He left school after 9th.
Wait, what?
Prateek has not finished school. He has not done college. And there are so many similarities between him and the Kamath brothers. After he left, he started
Nitin, I would say.
Yeah, even Nikhil for that matter.
Nikhil.
Both of them. All three of them have worked in call centers at some point. I think even this one, Arihant has worked in call centers if I'm not wrong. Everyone we have talked about in this episode has worked in call centers at some point.
Bro, is there like a hidden...
I am not sure.
Hidden filter.
But this is a pattern that I'm seeing, right?
Oh, interesting.
So they worked in call
Do you
centers.
think 1990s call center had something to do?
I don't know. But these people worked in like early 2000s.
Because there used to be a serial which used to come in Kannada around call centers.
I think call centers was a huge part of the Indian culture. But anyway, so he's worked in call centers. He did not go to school, and then he started trading early on because I think his dad had like some trading experience. So like these guys started trading, and he's been trading consistently. So as of this interview, he was like, okay, as of like 2019, there has never been a day when I did not like see the market when it opened until the time it closed. Right? So you're seeing the market all the time. So basically, he did that for a while, and he started a forum for finance, right? For people to talk about finance because there wasn't enough information about it, right? So by 2014-ish, right? So he started all of this in whatever, like early 2010s, 2008, 2009-ish. And by 2014, he was making enough money by trading so he could focus on content.
Right.
Or like whatever, this education idea, right? And it was very clear from the way that they were talking was that he was truly like fulfilled doing this work. Like this was his life's purpose, or this is his life's purpose, right? And the one thing that really like struck me is that whoever is successful, like now I would say that Prateek is coming closer to his kind of peak, right? Like because more and more people know about him, and then he's on my radar also, and I'm not a finance person, so like that's my litmus test to know okay you're going mainstream,
right?
But this is not like an overnight, like this is an overnight success, a decade in the making, more than a decade in the making.
Yeah,
right. We're 2025 now. He started in like 2010. Right, so it's like
5,
overnight success,
years.
15 years in the making, right?
Yeah.
Like he talked about certain concept that was just like so fascinating. He was talking about retention and how in LearnApp. So LearnApp is basically like an app for people to learn about finance,
correct?
Right, in various different shapes and forms.
Yeah.
And he goes ki we are really data driven, because that word data driven comes in 01 also, right? So that's where it comes from. We're really data driven, and he talks about how whenever they uploaded a video, so they used to go to like these experts who were really good at what they do, and they used to get them to like make these master classes, or they call courses,
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
And they used to look at where people are dropping off, like where different cohorts of their users are dropping off. They would edit that segment, re-upload the video, and see if if retention increased, right? And I was like, dude, fuck man, that's what people do on YouTube. And this guy was doing this in like 2014, right, or 2015, whenever.
Yeah.
Way ahead of his time.
And in an app probably which is already paid.
Yeah. Right. And he was very clear that LearnApp it's like a yearly subscription.
Right.
It's not a monthly thing. And it's very conscious because he said, okay, people don't use LearnApp throughout the year. Like they learn something and then they go. And then they come back after a while, they learn something and then they leave. And then they come back and they learn something. And then over a course of a year, they realize that, hey, like this is actually beneficial.
Yeah.
So let me renew the subscription.
Yeah.
Which is so antithetical to how people would think about users. Yeah. Because they'll be like, okay, no, like let me just maximize revenue with like just giving it like a monthly subscription, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a little higher than if you average out like a yearly subscription per month. So he was very clear on the mission, and they were like really caring about their users, which I really like, and I would also want to do with with let's say the show, or any apps that we're making, or even the people that we're working with, truly care about their problems. And so that way he was super inspiring. He also talked about this idea, and dude, LearnApp makes like money. It makes bank.
Paid money.
Dude, in 21 they were doing close to $2 to $3 million a year.
Yeah.
And this is like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
When we weren't. I mean, most of India wasn't thinking in millions of dollars, or whatever you think.
And it's like he talked about how LearnApp is not content; it's like content plus action, right? So like we give you assignments, and you have to come back to us, and do all of these things. And it's very clear that he's literally applied all of these principles back into 01.
Yeah.
Right? Because how like just going to this event is not just like, hey, I'll just buy a pass. You need to show intent.
Yeah.
You have to show.
One interesting observation I've made, I think from the LearnApp to 01, LearnApp, I feel it was more for millennial or like an older crowd. It felt like it.
Yeah,
the
01 is for the Gen
ecosystem
Zs.
was like that.
Yes.
I think 01 specifically feels very Gen Z.
Correct. 100%.
And
100%.
when I was on LearnApp, somewhere it felt like I didn't belong here. Because it's hard, bro, like sitting through this.
Right.
And I could understand, it was very clear going through all that, but somewhere it felt like, oh, somewhere it's not like my thing.
Right.
But 01 felt like it.
Right.
This is not like,
it's very like flavorful.
Flavorful, yeah.
No, makes sense. But yeah, man, super interesting stuff what they're doing, and their connection with Yas is also very fascinating. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Yas, but Yas is like everywhere, man. Like it's everywhere, and it's undeniable what Varun Maya has done.
Yeah,
it's undeniable, and
the
like
timing,
huge kudos to the way that he was way ahead of the curve, and how he's able to build the business on top. But like Yas is also everywhere now. Yeah. They also collaborated with Zerodha on 01. Yeah. So I think they're editing for like all of their channels. So I'm thinking that everyone who is funded by Zerodha or whatever, picked up by 01, they have the option to like get the services of Yas, right? And Zerodha just like probably foots the bill. I mean, that was one. That's kind of the whole Zerodha chapter, right?
Correct.
But like to end kind of this episode, another thing that has really been on my mind is this sudden increase in the number of content related jobs, right?
Yeah.
And
also before we get into this, recently I was listening to this podcast. Colin and Samir, they did a recent episode with Johnny Harris.
I need to watch that, man.
Yeah,
I need to
like
watch
brilliant episode.
Cleo Abraham, and I need to watch both of them on John Yushai also. I haven't done that yet.
Okay, so why I am talking about this is also, they were speaking in terms of like how their operations were and their journey, how it has been until now, and how they have scaled back on their content also.
Right.
So they talked about
really just scaled back
because I think last year he was doing 4 episodes every month. Okay. So it was like one
a week,
one every week. I think they have scaled it down to 2.5 types.
Got it. But has the video length increased?
No.
Because he does some videos are like really long. It's like
really long and short. I think it's a creative call on how big the story that they are covering is and all that. But yeah, they have like drastically scaled down, and that's a conscious decision that they have done. He was explaining the fact how the only non-scalable aspect of making content is the creator himself. You can't.
You're the bottleneck.
So you are the bottleneck. So you're saying I was the bottleneck in my channel.
Right.
And I think his wife was also there. She explained how it impacted the output of content. So they were like,
very fascinating.
See, this makes no sense that you are pushing so hard to make content and the content itself is not impactful. I have to push you to now make content.
Is that the reason why they start multiple channels? Because they also started a network, right? I'm sure they would have talked about it.
Yeah, they did talk about it. And why? I'll tell you why also. It has been established the creator will be the bottleneck, because no matter what you do, content is all about taste. And taste only comes from one person when it comes to content. And that person is making the content.
Right.
So that is the unscalable part of it. So how do you scale is having an army of creators that do content with you. And the only way to scale is increasing the size of your army and not stressing one creator to be able to do more.
Does that taste follow through on everyone? Or is it like different tastes and it's a collective?
That's something that they discussed also. Now they are at a point where they understand what can be a good story. So if you have worked with somebody for decent enough time and they have already, at least this is what they said, they have developed metrics in which they can track how do you make sure like this story will work.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right? Like any creator making any content, does that story count?
Right.
Does this content piece will perform? How will it perform?
Right.
How do you quantify it? And I think they are coming down on that from the operations end and creating this into 2 distinct things, because until now creator has been doing all operations. So they're like, we'll take care of everything operation. You take care of only making content.
Very interesting.
We will not get it to impact your work. We will give you a salary, you make content until like a certain point, and then once we hit numbers, we'll give you a very good revenue share also out of this. I think this is something that they also talked about, like why creators leave companies. I think you mentioned
Samdesh
leaving ScoopWhoop. I think it's also because of not having the incentive in the right places for him to
could be correct.
Do more
like
for
Saiba
them.
and Zomato.
Correct.
These guys in ScoopWhoop. There was, if you remember BuzzFeed India, there was Shinoy, Roy, and like 4 or 5 different people who all left BuzzFeed to make their own this thing.
Exactly.
The same thing happened with BuzzFeed USA. Same thing happened with Vox. Same thing happened.
He mentioned why it happened with Vox. It's like incentives was not in the right place. They were not monetizing, which meant it did not matter what I was doing.
Correct.
It didn't impact.
Correct.
That's why we want to make like a very generous incentive plan for the people who are making
very interestingly, I had a really in-depth conversation with Animesh about this. Right? So we were talking. So for context, for people who don't know, Animesh is like a close friend.
We'll link his
great
channel
YouTube
also.
channel, link in the description. We're also trying to work together, and he's brilliant, man. Like he's one of the smartest YouTube people that I've met, especially in the niche of like these science videos, right?
Yeah, and bro, his storytelling, my
phenomenal,
God.
man.
Like, it's just like
the way that like he's a filmmaker at heart, right? And
he's storyteller by heart. I would say filmmaking is something that he uses as a medium or vice versa. I don't know, but
no, he makes films, right? That's where his heart's at,
Okay.
and he's just a brilliant storyteller. Like what he picks, the way that he talks, and his cinematography and. Yeah, man. Like I already did like a episode with him. He's gonna come to Bangalore soon. Hopefully we can do.
Cool.
In the next couple of weeks we can do another one with him on the show. But I was having like this in-depth conversation, right? And he had some really interesting thoughts about like this entire science storytelling genre, which I didn't think about before. So if you look at, let's say, Cleo Abraham on the tech side, Johnny Harris, there is this guy Phil Edwards, also Xbox. These guys are, Johnny Harris is more like geopolitical, you know. Phil Edwards is more like just like general interesting stories. I think he hasn't found his niche yet. Then you have Vsauce, you have Veritasium, you have like this entire little group of people, right? Then there's I Did a Thing, and if you're on the group, I keep sharing some of their videos, right? I Did a Thing is from Australia, then even Boy is from Australia. They do similar things, and then there's like this entire group of people, I'm forgetting his name. They started an event, right? There's an event called I think Open Source. It's called Open Source.
Open Source,
I really want to go there.
Yeah.
But it's just a bunch of science creators, right? And some of them are like huge. They're like multiple millions of like close to 10 million subscribers each, right?
Okay, before we digress more off the topic, I think the next wave is going to be bigger content houses getting on more.
You know what it sounds like?
On board.
This sounds like the business model that's there in music, of music labels.
Yeah.
So you might have content labels.
Yeah.
So 01 by Zerodha is a content label.
Content label now.
Right?
It's a network, more or less.
And then they give you that initial, like they de-risk you and they eat into the profits once you grow big, right? So they take away the struggle. So they kind of democratize, like if you have the skill, you should be able to make it. Let's say if Johnny Harris could, they're spending like $100,000 a month on payroll, right? So they're probably earning like in the millions. So if you're with the label, you probably won't earn millions. You probably earn like maybe millions, but like hundreds of thousands of dollars for sure. But then like the certainty of you making it is higher, right? Something like that. But 100%. What I was saying is in that conversation, he talks about like a lot of super interesting things, right? About like how these people think and how do they select. One thing that he pointed out is let's say Cleo if we take, right? Or even Johnny if we take. He is almost typecasted for geopolitics.
Yeah.
Now for him to come out of that mold, he can't. If he comes out, it won't, like his videos just will not perform.
No, I have seen some other videos of his really work. One on bread.
Not now. This was a while back.
This was some time back, yes.
Now he has only been doing geopolitics.
Yeah.
He'll make on elections and hacking and this and that and news in general. Yeah. Right? Before he used to make on like breakfast. That's a beautiful video. And then he had these vlogs and like how now he is just... Now Cleo, her whole concept is like big if true. So it has to be something that is like very radical and new. If you're talking about some general technology, it won't matter. Yeah. Right? So he pointed out the few videos that haven't performed when she tried to do that. And then he kind of broke down how they're able to do it. His knowledge is just like incredible. Every time I talk to him, I learn something new.
Nice.
But anyway, so we'll do that. But on this note of like content labels, right? It also really highlights how fast and how much the creator economy is growing in terms of jobs.
Yeah.
which is what
Insane.
I wanted to talk about, like towards the end of this episode, right? Is ki this idea that I have seen more and more, and it could be a bubble because like
maybe
we're in that bubble.
We are in the bubble.
But I'm seeing more and more jobs now, more than ever, around content.
Yeah.
I'll share a screenshot on the page. I saw some 15 jobs about content strategist or like lead YouTube, whatever strategist in Bangalore. 15. Which is incredible if you think about it, because up until like last year, you could count on one hand how many people like really, how many companies really cared about content.
YouTube.
Yes.
Forget, like even content.
Right.
How many people even
especially
cared about
YouTube,
content? Yes.
Right? But now like everyone wants to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this one quote that I really like, I'm forgetting who it's by. It said ki don't try to be the first mover, try to be the first one to get it right. So I think, of course, there are certain companies who have first mover advantage, and I think it's still very new, and a lot of new companies will come up. Like we're trying to do it in podcasting. You know, Yas has done it for, let's say, video essays and talking header videos, things like that. And there are a bunch of other people that I also know who are doing something similar. But the idea is ki like this will keep on growing.
Yeah.
Right, and more people will need this. So I was just looking at YT jobs, right?
Yeah.
So there was a post by Paddy that I commented on, and Paddy was talking about this guy called Ramit Sethi. And Ramit Sethi is like this finance guy, and I know him because even like my favorite part, MFM, like they talk about Ramit, they're friends with him and all of that. So I don't follow him, but Ramit is paying $180,000 to $200,000 a year for a lead YouTube strategist.
Yes, I saw your comment.
Which is a big fucking deal, right? Because $200,000 is like, it's not, that's like an Ivy League job after like a year and a half of graduation.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Or a proper STEM role. If you are
STEM
like
role,
three
a couple years into your job. You don't get it immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the fact that someone is willing to pay that much means that one, he like it's that much valuable to him.
Yes.
And like you are able to make that much impact.
There is a very interesting job role that is also opening, specifically in the around shorts, which is for streamers, and they are pushing in close to $1 million for editors who can do shorts.
Cut up their lives.
Yeah, who can get people into their lives.
Very interestingly, I was watching.
They're spending close to $1 million.
Yeah, the streamers are minting, man.
In
they're like,
month.
They're making bank.
A month.
Oh, $1 million a month.
Yes.
Crazy.
$1 million a month they are spending.
Dude, these streamers are earning like NBA level contracts.
Yeah.
You know, XQC, he had like a $200 million deal or something. Non-exclusive with Kick, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
We'll show the headline on the screen.
The news we'll put up.
Yeah. Aiden Ross, same. It's a mad deal.
Yeah.
Where someone was selling him for the NFL Super Bowl, right? How much is like a box?
Crazy.
He said 1.5 million. And he was like, oh yeah, like I'll consider it. Like he was... So it's just insane how much money these people have.
Yeah.
On that note, I was thinking about this just today. You know Prakhar ke Pravachan?
Yeah.
So do you remember when he had this whole controversy with Sandeep Maheshwari not too long ago?
I don't know what the...
Okay, so this happened like last year or maybe last year.
Okay.
It was a big deal. No, this was end of 2023. Okay. I remember because I was in like this weird phase.
Give me like a quick recap of
I'll give you a quick summary. So basically, Sandeep, for whatever reason, targeted Harsh, saying ki, targeted Prakhar, saying ki, oh, see this guy, he's making courses and he's telling things to people and he himself doesn't know anything. And then Prakhar retaliated back, making like this whole video. And then Sandeep like really blew it out of proportion. Okay. And from what I can remember, it really became a big deal because... Do you know who Sandeep Maheshwari is?
Yes, I know.
Before this, I had no idea who this guy was.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like amazed. I was shocked to know that he has more than 20 million subscribers.
Yeah.
He's one of the most followed YouTube channels in India.
Yeah.
And he's like a motivational speaker. Which is like very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I never expected that someone like who's a motivational speaker would have, but it makes sense, like big top of the funnel. So basically they had like this huge back and forth and like people were like making videos on each other, and it reminded me of those good old days of like rap battles of, like diss tracks that people had on each other. But it was that, and after it died down. I think like Prakhar was supported by people, but I mean, same thing that's happening with Samir now, not
both
so
ways
much.
It happens, generally.
But his channel was fucked. Okay. Right? His channel, like, I remember seeing his videos every week. He's putting out videos and they're not getting views at all. Like, at all. I think he had like 150,000 subscribers. He grew to 200 during this process. And after that, his reach just tanked, right? He had like 10,000 view videos, and like 50,000 view videos would be like a good video. And this happened for like a year.
Okay.
And hats off to the guy for like keeping
going. It consistent for a year.
Hats off, like huge respect.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of his content, but huge respect for him being able to do that. Especially like not getting views at the beginning is one thing, but like reaching a certain stage and then fuck man,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how difficult that would have been.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what pivot he made. I think he pivoted into podcasting. Dude, I think he's crossed like 2 million subscribers now. He's killing it.
He's killing it.
Right? And one of the reasons why is that every now and then, right, I see, these like podcast clip channels.
Yeah.
It'll have some generic name.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a bot.
Yeah.
Then it had like a bunch of different clips.
Huh.
I have this theory that one of the reasons for his comeback was that he used this Andrew Tate strategy. Where he got like 100 different channels to just push out shorts. Because he did this one episode with Apurva, which is Rebel Kid. Right? And I have seen multiple shorts come up on my feed.
Right.
And this one short that was around content. They were talking about like ad rev and all. That really got me curious. I'm like, dude, I didn't know that they were talking about ad rev and content stuff. So let me go watch the video. And it was in like the first 5 minutes of the video. Like literally, the first 5 minutes was that clip. Right. And that, like, I went down and I dug around. He literally cut out 100 clips from that episode.
Yeah.
Every single like back and forth was a clip.
Yeah.
Right. And that got me thinking ki maybe that's a strategy that people are using. Right? Where they're just like hiring these whatever short channels.
I think this is the same thing with streamers also. So I think why like you are spending $1 million on the editors is specifically because of the amount of revenue that you are able to generate back of it. And also I think it's incentivized on outcome for these editors.
On views. Yeah. It's not on videos. It's like 100%.
The amount of click-through you have,
100%.
You will get paid according
100%.
to that. And hence that makes sense.
Like these jobs are increasing. Yeah. Right? And from that one Paddy post, I went to like YT Jobs and I also called the CEO. I just cold emailed him.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. But
let's see.
My point is ki, I think the time for the creator economy is now around the corner. Right? Like before it was kind of a fad and people are still figuring it out. But now it's becoming more and more mainstream.
It's almost there.
Yeah.
If we are lying, if we are like...
Correct.
No, it's still
I mean, it's already here because like the minute it comes out of Twitter and Reddit onto YouTube and LinkedIn, it's become mainstream. Done. So it's been mainstream for a while. But what I mean is like the size of the market is going to grow immensely. Right?
I would say next 3 years, it'll
100%
be almost peaking.
100%. So I am extremely excited for what like we could potentially do, right? Not just with the show, but with our businesses and some of the other projects that I have going on. Yeah. Just because like I feel like the surface area for luck for the people who are working in these like industries is just going to increase. Yeah. So just by the fact that you've been here longer, it increases how lucky you could be in the future.
Like I think the best word I could use for this is like it is going to get to like gold rush frenzy.
Could be, yes.
We are moving towards that, I feel.
Yes.
Because like next 2 years, everybody would want.
Yes.
Like it's just like
and people I think we are positioned
on the cusp of turning. Yeah. Then like everybody wants.
Like this show is uniquely positioned for that because there will come a point, let's say 6 months, a year down the line, where people are hopefully looking back onto the episodes that we make, and they're like, literally like that. Hey, okay, like this is what I need to do. I just need to, like whatever I want to make science videos. So like I'll just go and watch these 2 episodes and I'm done. Yeah. So I think. Cool stuff is coming for sure. Yeah. But cool, man. I think is that the pod?
Yeah.
I think that's the pod. Anything else?
Nothing.